Hello and welcome to another episode of my UK quad biking series, and in this episode we'll dive into the art of route planning, which is a crucial aspect to enjoying your quad biking adventures while staying safe and legal. So first of all, the essentials for route planning, a few things you're going to need. First one is Explore by Ordnance Survey. It's a paid service which is about £20 a year and allows you to view the 1 to 25,000 ratio maps, which is pretty crucial in identifying the green lanes. Here is one in pink because we're at the 1 to 50,000 ratio map, and then on the 25,000, and this is where they get their name, they become green. And the green crosses signify a byway open to all traffic, or green lane as it's more colloquially known. But the beauty of this tool, and this is why I use it, is you can create a route on here, you can add markers or plots onto the map, and then save the route to your account and then sync it with your mobile device. So you can take your phone, then plonk it on your mount on your quad bike and head out for the day knowing where you're going without even having to think about it. You've already put all the planning and time ahead and you can just enjoy the day. The second tool, which is optional, is a GLAS or Trail Riders Fellowship membership, and they provide two services. GLAS provide the Trailwise 2 mapping tool, and TRF provide Green Road Map, which is the tool I'll be using. About £50 a year for those memberships, and they're a pretty good starting point for planning your routes. And obviously with regards to the Ordnance Survey, it's pretty useful to have a good understanding of OS maps. There are plenty of YouTube videos on using OS maps, which won't be covered in this one. So one of the key factors when you're planning your route is considering how far you've got to travel from wherever you keep your quad to the routes themselves. A quad is sometimes limited to 40 miles an hour on the road, which isn't ideal if you're doing A roads or anything like that, which, to be honest, I would avoid entirely if I can. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that, because a 40 mile an hour vehicle on a 60 mile an hour road is just going to introduce chances and people who want to take unnecessary risks to get round you because you're doing just a little bit under the speed limit. So I would definitely avoid using quad on A road and plan your route accordingly. Use as many back roads and unclassified roads and anything that's classed as a minor road instead of relying on A roads. And of course, motorways is definitely a no-go in my opinion. So this actually links to another video in my series about buying a road legal quad bike and things to look out for, particularly around the 40 mile an hour restriction on some quad bikes and some that are unrestricted, so you're able to do 60-70 miles an hour if you so wish. Let's look at the Green Road Map. We've had Google Maps up there, I'll come on to that shortly, but I wanted to show the Green Road Map because I find this is very helpful in identifying some destinations for my routes. So when I think about a route that I want to do, I kind of look for groups of these lanes in close proximity, and that avoids me having to use roads as much as possible and maximising the off-road experience, which ultimately is where quads are most fun. One of the routes I did recently was actually near Peterborough. I went down from Peterborough to Oundle on a day trip with my wife. We travelled on the quad and stopped off in Oundle as sort of a halfway point. We continued on a bit further south, covered a few routes around Polbrook, and then we came back along, back through Yarwell. And this lends itself quite nicely because as a starting point, you can come up at Wansford, which is just off the A47 or off the A1. I'll share that route for anyone who's interested in the links below in the description. Once you've kind of identified a route that you want to consider on the Green Road Map, I would always go and check with the local council that actually manage the road network for that area. And that gives you a little bit of confidence that you're not going to have any surprises when you get there. This route I was referring to fell in Northamptonshire's area, and thankfully they have a definitive map which is actually online. Here is the Northamptonshire interactive map. On the right hand side you've got your layers. I deselected everything other than the county boundary, just to show you, where that falls, and then I selected the public right of way byway, which then highlights these which you'll see linked to the green road map, the actual green lanes or the byways on this map as well. You can see from the green road map and this council map is actually up to date. You know, there's very little difference between these two, which is good news for me. I validated that I was able to travel on these, and then I've now got to look at, can I actually access them and how do I access them? I was not familiar with the area. I don't know where these routes were originally, so I had to go and research that. Now, how would I do that? Well, the next thing I would look at is going to Google Maps. Google Maps has Street View, so that allowed me to go along all of the minor roads that are around the green lanes and look at the access. Specifically, is there a gate there? Is there something I have to open when I get there? Is my quad going to fit through? Some of the quads, particularly the 1000ccs, are actually a little bit larger, so they won't go through the side gates that are typically at the entrance and exits to green lanes. So you will have to open the big gate, which is just a consideration that you may be getting on and off your quad to open and close these gates. And part of, you know, the Trail Riders Fellowship is to make sure that if a gate is closed when you come to it, you close it when you leave it, and if it's open, you leave it open. There are a few other tips and tricks on their website when you become a member about etiquette and so on for green lanes, so I'd advise you to go and have a look at that after this video. And then, of course, once you've validated this, or as much as you can via Street View, I'd recommend actually going and driving the route in a car or some other method of transport that isn't obviously what you're going to be using off-road. And that's just to make sure that the Street View is accurate. There may be new TROs, which are traffic regulation orders that may be imposed on the route. One I've seen quite a bit is a restriction for October to April. They ban motor vehicles. There is one exception though. Some of those do still allow for solo motorcyclists. So typically your off-road bikes are still allowed during that season, but quad bikes are not allowed during that season. So just something to bear in mind when you do purchase a quad, which brings me nicely on actually to a video that I'll be adding to this series, which is around buying a road legal quad in the UK. And that's one of the considerations, because you do lose access to some green lanes during the peak season or the winter season when most damage is likely to be done. I mentioned about the route to Oundle. I will share that now on the URL on screen. Please let me know if you enjoy that route and if you ever get to do it. And in return, please just give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing for some more valuable tips and insights on quad biking in the UK. So until next time, safe riding, folks.